What's up, everybody? Welcome
Yo.
to episode 4, volume 4 of Panels and Frames. 4 in a row. Look at us cranking through the month of May into the month of June. How you doing today, Tim? Kev?
Good, man.
You made me watch The Acolyte. I'll just put it that way.
Oh, fuck off. Crotchety old men.
Seems like a good place to start, I guess. We can jump right into it. There is a lot. I think Tim has dwelled on this before about Star Wars fans being the worst fan base in the world.
100%, no question in my mind. We are, and I include myself in that. I'm not trying to point fingers, but we are collectively the fucking worst.
I agree.
Like, literally the worst.
People have very strong opinions, and people don't like things that they don't like. I don't know. I
want to like it.
I dislike the show for reasons that aren't necessarily what everybody's complaining about on Twitter and in the Star Wars universe about things.
Well, let's break it in and go item by item. I will say I like the show overall. It's not perfect, but if it tilted, if there was a scale, it's past the 50% mark from, you know what I mean? Like, it's in the green side of the scale. It's not all the way to the end, but it definitely, it leans on the like versus not like, but we could go item by
Mine's
item.
right in the right in the yellow still. It hasn't gone red and it hasn't gone green. It's in the yellow cautionary. I'm still on the fence where it is going, what's going on with it. But
why do they the twins, you can't even tell them apart. They keep having to say their names
They're
so you can
fucking
tell them apart.
Twins, Kev.
That's how twins are.
That's your problem. Oh, what's with these identical twins? Why are they identical? I don't like that. Okay, cool.
I think you could tell them apart easier as children than you could. I don't know. I could tell them apart in the last episode easier than I just kept getting confused on which one was the bad one. I kept being like, wait, I thought May was the good, but then
the bad one.
Yeah, May's the bad bitch.
The Jedis are not presented as being the most likable bunch of people in this,
right? Which I think is interesting. That's the one thing I liked about it was the whole time I was thinking about if some fucking asshole came up and was like, "I'm going to test your daughter," and if she passes, I'm taking it away. I'm like, "Fuck no!"
I know you ain't.
I'm like, I would turn to the dark side in a second. No, it's no wonder that shit got dark. That's the part I liked. I thought the acting and listen, it's not the kid's fault. I really hate child acting. Like, and I get it. You need to act. You need children to act. Like, I get it. Like, but it's never good. Whenever you have a child, no, dude. I mean, I feel for that kid. He caught so much shit. Yeah. But and it's not the actor's fault. It's just there's a certain level of like emotional maturity I think you need to connect through the camera. And I can't think of a child actor where I'm like, oh, that was a great performance. It's always terrible or passable. Like, okay, fine, I didn't hate it. And so
unless you're Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver, and then you're just nailing it at 11
or the kid from Jerry Maguire. Or Macaulay Culkin.
They leaned into that. I feel like they leaned into like the tropes of like a child actor. I don't know. That was the one thing I was like taken away from. Was like, all right.
Are the witches a Sith coven?
Well, so I think that one thread that I sent you guys was probably the most accurately written good thread about the Night Sisters and sort of the Sith, how it connects to the Sith, and the spoilers. We're going to kind of talk about the episode, so if you haven't seen it and you don't want to hear us, skip ahead until you see the next thing in the box and next to me to the right, this side, and doesn't say the Acolyte anymore, and probably says Blade or Rebel Moon, which is the next thing we talk about. But spoilers are coming, so fast forward.
Shit on that too. Spoiler.
Until you see that out of the way. But I feel like that thread kind of did a good job of explaining, and pointing out things that I don't know exactly what they're called, but the Darth Maul looking woman sister who is the actual mother of the children, who said she carried
know her
them.
Species or her home planet.
She wasn't. You didn't see her dead lying in the circle of all the other ones, so there's a lot of speculation that she's part of whatever just happened. Her and May, or she when she went on the walk with May.
I think the mother is the Sith.
The mother is the bad person.
At the end,
there's a difference because they call
on the rock.
They
At the
call
end
the other
episode,
woman who did the ceremony Mama, and like kind of relate to her as the mother figure, but the mother actually was the
was the Darth Maul character.
character exactly.
Right,
And
yeah.
I think she has more to do with it than anything. Like again, we only got half the story, I feel like, in this episode. Like it was kind of like the sisters. It was only half the telling of what happened to one of them. I think we're going to get another side of this and see it either from a Jedi perspective or
What
May's
about
perspective.
what about taking away from Anakin being the one created from the Force? Because those twins were created from the Force.
Well,
It's
again,
not
though,
why is that taking it away though? Like seriously, what the fuck? I saw people saying that it's not the Immaculate Conception. It's not fucking Jesus, right?
But it
It's a
might be for
precedent.
some people. It might be
No,
like
it's
so
right.
set that
But there's
no,
so many
there's
different versions of the Force, and there's so many different versions of what other religions, so to speak, look at the Force. Like they call it the
right,
thread, and like that's their
right.
version of it. And
yeah,
they
but I think he's talking specifically about being
right,
conceived by the Force, and I don't think that's like
and
I
I
think
don't,
the fact that Anakin was that way made it more sense. Like it made
and
it work better.
you don't know how these two were created. They just said, she used something to create them. You're not quite sure. It hasn't explained that, or if it will explain that, or what it is. But I don't think it takes away anything from who Anakin was or how he was the legend foretold of him being the Messiah or whatever that is. I don't think it really knocks that, and I don't really have a problem with that part of it either. I feel like there's so much more to explain in it than that. I just feel like it has, I guess it's the Zabrak race is what they're called. Zabrak, am I saying that right? I don't
Yeah,
know,
the
but
Dathomirian Zabroks.
yeah.
And it's cool because they started to get in. I mean, we don't need to get super nerdy with all this shit, but like, I do like, just generally speaking, that they started to dabble with that in Rebels. They started to dabble back to it in Ahsoka, and I
Right.
feel like they're really expanding outside of the Skywalker legacy and saga and bringing in different parts of the galaxy. So whether or not like the performance or this specific storyline, I think nails it 100%. That's up for debate. But the one thing I really dig about it and what I'm excited about is that they are going in deeper into the lore and looking at these other races and these other interpretations of the Force and the magic. I mean, fucking Star Wars is space wizards and witches. That's what it is. Like everybody's just so all uppity about it. It's we got some fucking badass witches doing some crazy mind shit
Well,
in
and I
space.
think
I mean, that's fucking awesome.
Mother Talzin or whatever, who I think was in Ahsoka or alluded to in Ahsoka, she's Darth Maul's mom and gave up Darth Maul as a baby to Sidious to be raised in the way of the Force. So I think this connects with that. So I think there's
Right.
these cool threads, so to speak, that connect these things that in the greater universe, to Tim's point, which is vast and massive and huge. It's cool to see these other corners and these other things happening that aren't just in the Skywalker saga, which everybody bagged on at the end anyway. So like it's nice, people bag on continuing that storyline. People bag on expanding the storyline. People bag on like all these. So it's just you're
I'm
never
ready
going to
to
make
get away
anybody
from the
happy.
Skywalkers personally. I think fucking with it in the sequels was the worst thing
Yeah,
Lucasfilm and Disney did. Like everybody talks about like the shows and shit and like Mandalorian, like things lately. That's fine. The sequel trilogy was the most fucked up thing that they did to that
yeah,
property.
yeah.
They
And
just leave the Skywalkers alone. It's a whole galaxy. There's so much shit to explore. Go explore other shit. I don't know.
I tend to agree with you, and I, I'm still. We'll see where the storyline goes, but I don't know why it's just you can't just get a kick-ass Jedi movie show, fight lightsaber fights, force fighting. You know what I mean? And just make a kick-ass like Western type, almost like
Yeah.
like Japanese type samurai movie with the
samurai,
Jedis.
yeah.
And just go crazy with that and spend them because I know the Acolyte's costing a ton of money per episode to make, and it's because it's all
But they did that in the beginning, and we were all like, "Why the fuck are they making a Jedi Matrix movie? They should have made a Jedi
well, that was kung
samurai
fu
movie."
though.
I
Like that
mean,
was kung fu. I want lightsaber action. Like they're using the
you don't want
force in
kung fu,
kung
you
fu
want
ways.
samurai.
I want fucking swords and
Yeah,
shit
yeah, yeah.
fighting. Like that's what I want to see. But I'm hoping it. I mean, we're 3 episodes in. I think there's 8 or 10 probably of this
It's 10,
series.
I think.
So we're not even halfway through. We'll see. I thought it was kind of also a weird placement for this story. Like, I was really looking forward to the
For the
Wookiee.
flashback, right?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to like progressing the story and see where we're going. This one almost felt like it could have been part of a 2-part beginning, so you kind of got the beginning arc to kind of know. But I see why they set it up with the other two and then dropped this one
The
in where
Wookiee
they
was there
did.
for a second.
He was in there, like he
He
had a
was
little
part
bit
of
of
it.
a
I like him.
introduction role, and seeing the I was glad we got more Carrie Ann Moss too, because I felt like we really shortchanged her at the beginning. The first episode, you got her for like the opening sequence, and then she was dead, and you're like, oh, that's it, okay. So it was good to see her come back too and get a little bit more. Hopefully, we get a little bit more. What were they doing on the planet? Why, like why were they really there? We know we were there. They were like, I guess, hunting this child or
Fucking
hunting the
Soul is like,
witches.
Jedi's don't take children. Take your child. It's like, oh, no.
Child nappers. Like,
Although that guy, I don't know his name. I apologize, but he was in not Hunger Games, fucking
Squid Game.
Squid Game. That guy's a good actor. Like that was the opposite of the kid performer. I was like, when he was holding her and like choking up, I was like, I was like, God damn, that was a good performance.
And he learned English just for this role, apparently.
Oh, really?
To play this role. So yeah, which is pretty impressive. Like
How do
I
people
agree
do
with you,
that?
Tim.
I've tried to learn like to speak Spanish to ask to go to the bathroom and have a beer, and I can't even do it. I'm like, how do you learn a whole nother language?
If Kev can't do it, it must be impossible.
It's impressive though, Tim. And to your point, like sometimes acting is about what's between the lines and what you don't say, and he does a really good job of that.
Yeah, the looks and the little
Yeah,
he
of
did like a little
expressing
breath,
stuff.
like he almost like you could tell like his chest was tight and he had that anxiety and he couldn't. And so it's just that little sip of a breath. I was like, I know that, like, you know what I mean? You connect, and it's such a subtle thing, but like you feel it, like I know that I connected with it. And honestly, for the kids, like to give, I guess, them some credit, it's the little things, right? Like 99% of it, they're doing right. They got their lines right, their positioning, their look, like everything's right. But it's those little things that take you out of it, the same way it's the little things that sell it, right?
Yeah. There was a few. We don't need to go into all the shit that annoyed me in that
Yeah,
episode.
I don't want to get yelled at about
No, you
that.
can. I want to yell at you. Come on, tell me what annoys you.
I already said what I thought about.
The twin thing was funny. The twin thing, come on. The
I
first
just
complaint was they look
it was
alike.
tough for me. It was tough for me watching it, like the scene when the buildings collapse. I'm like, which one is that? Which one is that? Which one is that? Until one of them says May, and then you're like, oh, that's the one that's.
Yeah, they could have like put someone in a black robe and someone in a white robe and made it more
right, or a headband. One had a headband on.
Well,
or
now
something.
they have the tattoo, the mark at least,
Right.
right? Which I thought that was cool too, because I was like, why the fuck is May really good at killing Jedi, and the other one seems to be really like not? Like now you have an explanation of right. It was weird before that. They're like, this one trained with the Jedi, and yet this one's the badass one. I don't understand, but now it kind of makes more sense that she got the force of the many. Or whatever it is. I don't know all the lore. I'm not going to sit and pretend like I understand.
I'm sure we will all watch episode 4 when it comes out.
Well, yeah, see where it goes. I will say too that chant, Tim, was one of the worst chants I've ever heard.
That was just like that's like a B movie horror movie trick. It is. It's just come on. You don't have a fire out of nowhere with music.
It was bad. There was some writing issues. There
wasn't great. Yeah,
there was some bad. I mean, we're not here to like completely fall. I will say there was some bad.
No, yeah, let's shit on it. It's fine. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be an apologist either. Like I said, it wasn't perfect.
It wasn't. It's not.
I was excited about the witch shit though, like just it tying to like Ahsoka and Rebels and things. I think I'm excited at the opportunity of it. They didn't really like deliver it, but I'm glad that they're not shying away from it. That they're like that it's a possibility. What they end up doing with it's going to decide if it's good or not, I guess.
And where it's going and how it fits into the larger scale. And it's still hard to always remember how before everything this is and where this is really taking place in the timeline of things and stuff. So it does get a little muddy in that with like
confusing as shit with that.
Completely.
I have to look at it all the time, and like I go on like the Disney app, and like they have them in order because like when we were watching Mando, I kept, even though it's obvious where it is in the timeline, I kept forgetting where it placed, right? Because they jump all around.
Googling it, I keep pulling up that same chart that has them all plotted out.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is where we are. Okay, now we're here. Okay, now we're here. I mean, the one thing that's nice about Acolyte is we're before all that shit. So like you can just think of it as like before. You don't need to, like it's 100 years, but like you don't even need to know that. Just think, okay, we're High Republic. We're before.
Do you think Palpatine shows up?
I think too early. Yeah, I think it's way
Well,
too early
Palpatine
for him.
didn't get generated until the Senate, right? Like he didn't full on Sith out until the prequels.
Well,
But
right, but
didn't he have to be a
he was
learner?
what's his name's apprentice forever though.
Something with a
Plagueis is
P.
Like,
yeah,
but
Plagueis.
but I don't think he was using the whatever magic to like and be live indefinitely, right? Like I know his master was, but I think he
Right.
came on when he was a young. You know what I mean? Like I think he's how old
Right.
is he in the prequels? Like 60, right?
Yeah.
Like when he's a center. So I think it was that
680 in space years.
right, but I think those 60 years, like he was just living his normal life, right? Like aging normally. And then when he sifted out was when he started prolonging it into the sequel trilogies.
Like
I think.
I want the
I
storyline
don't
of
fucking
those
know,
guys though.
man.
Like I want the Darth Plagueis storyline and the Palpatine storyline, and even fucking go back and bring in Darth Maul and show us like his apprenticeship because he was a badass until he got chopped
Yeah.
in half, and I guess he still lived after that.
Well, that's where I'm hoping this goes to,
He was
though.
cool till he got
Like,
chopped.
And then even after that, he lived for a while apparently. But yeah, I would love to like those backstories would be sweet to see and see the evil and again the dark side of things and how
I
that
hope this
grew.
leads directly into Maul and
I do
all
too.
that. Like, I
Yeah,
think that would and tying it in that way would make it work.
Make it
totally.
make sense.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Maul is awesome though in Clone Wars and Rebels and all that. Like, he's very badass. Probably
Right,
my
and
favorite.
I would love to see his like sort of that beginning origin story with Mother Talzin giving him up and then him training through the years and
Yeah.
becoming like his Anakin storyline or
And
whatever.
all the buzz when those movies came out was that he had that lightsaber. It was all about the new lightsaber that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And
thing
they
was
tried to
badass.
recapture that with fucking Kylo and his little cross, and it didn't do this. It wasn't the same. It was like, eh.
Well, in
You
this
know
one
what's
we get
cool?
the whip eventually. Remember that this one has the whip lightsaber that we haven't seen yet. So I'm excited to see what that's all about.
Yeah,
When
that's
we
gonna be
finally get
cool.
that.
I do like all the force pushing and like that, and I feel like that was criminally underused in a lot of the later stuff where it was all lightsabers and stuff. But like in the cartoons, it's like slash push, right? Cut push, and like constantly using both. And like the prequels, George did a decent job of doing it with like Yoda and stuff. But like all the shows and the post like the sequels, like I felt like they like forgot that they had that fucking power. It's like you have all this shit and all you're doing is sword fighting. It's like you got to combine. So I like that they're doing the pushing and stuff. I just agree that we should get better action with the
Throw
Like that.
somebody across the room, and as they're flying across the room, whoosh, right in half.
Right in
That's
Pull
half.
them
cinema.
towards you and
Maul the
right in half
motherfucker.
them,
Yeah.
right? Like bring them at you. Like, well, that was a cool thing. The one cool thing in Attack of the Clones was that Yoda fight when they first started. They were like pulling the rocks off the walls and like the
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
throwing things at each other and
Count
then using the
Dooku, that was
lightning at
sick.
each other before they got into the lightsaber. So it was like using these other elements of the Force. And then he's like, "Oh, I see our knowledge of the Force is the same. So the only way to solve this is in our lightsaber skills." And then they did the battle. So I think that's kind of cool, and hopefully this explores more of that because I guess it does sort of show your ability with the Force, which I thought was cool with the Night Sisters was that they do have this connection to the Force and can use those powers to do things that
And use different words to explain it though. And like
right,
with the thread, I thought that was cool because it wouldn't make sense if every culture and every place used the exact same language. It's not even how Earth works, right? So like
right,
the idea that the entire galaxy all uses it exactly the same would be like, no. Right. So I like that whole part of it.
right. That like there's other religions, so to speak, that worship sort of the same thing or use the same thing, but have different names for it and use it in different ways. So yeah, and
But you
I
guys
think
were
it,
like, fuck the Jedi though, right? Like I wasn't the only one. Like
The
when you're
Jedi were
watching
not
it.
cool at all. No, and
well,
there
I
was a
think
not
that's
in
what
Wookiee
this
there.
this.
The
shows,
Wookiee,
though, is that they try to be like, this is the one way to use the Force, right? And these other factions are like, no, there's other ways that you use this energy and this power and this thing. And they're like, no, there's only this one way, and it's for this. And I think it's
and it's
interesting to
lots
see
of
that.
branding over lots of years that makes the Force into the right way to do it
Right,
versus
right.
the
Pop
Sith, which
like
is the wrong way, you know?
right, propaganda and all
And
that
well,
shit.
you know what's interesting? Let me get back with the conception thing. It's two women who
Right.
conceived the twins. Anakin's conceived by what?
A woman and
One
Palpatine
woman.
something.
and what's his name? You know, it's
No,
So
we don't know that it's Palpatine, though. We just know that it's his mom and no father.
Yeah, his mom.
it's Palpatine who did it. I guess it's a man creating a man and a woman creating women.
But you don't know that Palpatine created Anakin. Because Anakin just
I
appeared
think
with
he did with the other dude, with his with the other guy with the P. I'm losing his name right now.
Plagueis.
Yes, Darth Plagueis, I think, is Anakin's creator.
And not the one, not what's her name, Smee or whatever her
Shmi.
name was,
No.
Shmee or whatever her
She
name
was the
was.
vessel, though. I think there's two different things
Yeah,
going on.
right.
So, like, Mother was the whatever. I don't know her name. It's weird calling her Mother. I
The
feel
one
like
who looked like Darth Maul for the
Mike
children,
Pence,
but
Right.
right.
yeah.
The other one was the creator.
But I don't think the gender thing is a thing. I think it's the dark versus light. Like, I think it's an unnatural, right? Like when Palpatine's like unnatural.
But who are they
memes and
saying is
shit.
dark and light? I mean, simply by the
Okay,
choice of
forget
having
that's
an
just what it's called. But
all-female.
say the type of magic or force that the Sith use. So if you don't want to call it dark because you're PC, like whatever the fuck you want to call it, Kev, that is unnatural to the other side.
Right.
So, but I don't think it's like a male has to do it with the
It's
male, or a
it's
female
a
has to do it with the
commentary
female.
on the. It's a commentary on
using
the
that dark-
patriarchy. It's a commentary on the
It's
patriarchy.
not. You're out of your fucking mind. You're crazy. You know what it is? It's a commentary on colonialism and fucking child napping, right?
The
Like
patriarchy. The patriarchy.
all right, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe you're right. I don't fucking know. It's space wizards and space witches. I feel like everybody tries to complicate shit. Like, I want to
Right.
see cool magic in space with reasonably logical stories. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a fuck about the commentary. Like, it's cool that it's
Reasonably.
there, but that doesn't
Reasonably
bother me.
doing a lot of work in that
I'm a
statement.
simpleton, man. I just fucking give me some space magic.
Right.
No,
Give me lightsaber fights and force using and like, but
Yeah.
come on.
I tell you what, there's nothing natural
Like, we're
about
not
Blade.
good nerds.
There's
About
nothing
what?
natural about Blade.
You want to talk about
Is it even
Blade?
going to happen? Is it going to
Yes,
happen?
it's gonna happen. All right. So there's
The
multiple stories here. We got to be very specific about how we break this shit
The
down.
most
because some of them
cursed
are
of
good and
all
some are
MCU
bad.
projects,
Right,
I feel like. It is.
Do you
it
want to
is
start
so,
with the bad news first, and then we get into the good news?
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
it?
Let's start with the bad news
news.
that the director left, has now resigned
Potentially
his
bad.
position.
I don't know if that's bad.
It's not
It
great
seems
in
to
the
be
press.
good. It seems
Let's
to
just
be
say
good.
it's not great look with everything this poor movie has gone through. Let's just say that it just seems like one obstacle after another. So I don't know. It better be good, because if it fails, you're going to get that whole rhetoric about like, oh, this thing was doomed from the start. It went through so many different writers and directors, and like I told you guys, we're waiting for Marshall Ali to quit now that he joined Jurassic World, the next movie. Everyone's like anticipating his exit coming. So I don't know. It's just too bad because I'm so excited for it. Like, I'm hoping
There's
it's
no chance. Absolutely. And you can quote me, you can record this. There is absolutely zero chance that
23-32.
Mahershala Ali walks away from this project right now. There is
Is that the
zero
only reason
chance.
they're still doing it? Because they attached
Yes, it's
him?
the only.
What?
He's a fucking Academy Award winning.
I know
He's
that,
one of
but
the
what do
best
you- what do
actors
you
of our
think?
age. They're gonna give him as much
He
money
got
and
half
as
a
much
million up front. He got $500,000 up front.
at
I'm sure.
least. Here's the good news. So, like, let's look at the whole thing. Michael Green, who they brought in to rewrite the script recently, he's the guy that did Logan. A bunch of shit. He did also, but in my mind, the thing that matters is Logan, right? Like the Blue Eye Samurai was also one that was pretty successful, and a bunch of other shit. But anyway, I'm gonna call him the Logan writer because I think that's the best, the pinnacle. They recently said they brought in a new writer, and everybody's like, "What the fuck? Michael Green's awesome. Why are they rewriting it? This isn't good. That means it's not." But then it just was reported like 2 days ago that Michael Green is now writing the script for Midnight Suns. And so what that tells me is they want continuity between Blade and Midnight Suns, that they had to pull Michael from Blade to work on Midnight Suns, and that the new writer truly is just doing punch up, right? Just making it nicer and doing edits for production, right? Because they're going into production. And the story is that they're going to go into Midnight Suns directly out of production of Blade, which means Mahershala Ali is not only going to be Blade, but he's probably going to be the lead or co-lead in the Midnight Suns, which, if you guys don't know, is fucking badass. That is probably the one project I am most excited about besides Secret War, and they cannot fuck it up. And I'm fine. Take 20 years. No, don't take 20 years. But if you have to take 5 more years to nail it, fucking take those
So
5
really,
years.
is that going to have a Ghost Rider in it?
Potentially, he was in it. Yeah, I think the ones that are definites in there is Doctor Strange, right? I think Moon Knight with what's his name, Oscar Isaac. Like,
Oscar, yeah.
could you imagine Ben? Like, forget the characters, forget all the nerdy shit in the comics. Mahershala Ali, fucking Oscar Isaac, and Benedict Cumberbatch in a like 3 leads in a fucking ensemble movie. That's your Chris Hemsworth and RDJ and fucking
Totally.
Chris Evans. Like, they're always saying, like, where do we have this? Is it? Yes, I know we need the Avengers, and you're gonna have it with Spider-Man, you're gonna have it with the mutants, but there's so much potential with the fucking
Yep.
Midnight Suns. So I think the good news, I think seeing Michael Green writing Midnight Suns and that it's reportedly going to be going into production right out of Blade is good news. I agree, losing your director for Blade, but that might just be, hey, fucking, you're not living up to it, right? Like, we have
No, there could be a lot of reasons for that. So a timeline, like now that it's being pushed, probably.
right. It
again,
took
like,
so long.
think-
They're going to be like,
Right.
Do you think
Fuck.
like Chris Christopherson or somebody put a curse on this new project because the one 30 years ago was so good? He's like, why are you even going to go there?
Why do you have to redo it? I think it's just. I think Tim's kind of on the right path with it. Needs to be.
Oh, it needs to be redone, but I mean,
but it needs to be good. It needs to be. It can't just be thrown together in a new Blade. Like it has
who's
to
your
set
bad
up.
guy? Is your bad guy going to be Mobius or somebody?
I think Dracula. I think that they should do Dracula because Dracula is the only one well, not the only one, but I think he's the one that could make a big bad for Midnight Suns. So I don't know if he'll be the big bad of Blade, but I think he needs to be the one behind the scenes that's the bad. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like the Thanos of that part of the supernatural part of the MCU. But like, why do people get all uppity about the fucking old Blade? Like, they remade Batman. That doesn't take away from like Michael Keaton or like fucking. I can't remember any of the other.
Well,
and it's it's also a new Blade that fits into the MCU, right? Like,
right, it's a modern Blade,
right? It's not the old
like,
version of it, which that movie can still stand on its own. Even that trilogy can still stand on its own for what it's worth. But this is like sort of that updated new version that fits into the MCU, which is a completely different sort of setup.
You gotta have Ghost Rider, man. I've waited so long for a good Ghost Rider. Sorry, Nick Cage.
We'll see in that too, Kev. Like, you could bring that in, and those other movies could stand on their own for whatever they're worth. And
Ghost Rider miniseries, 6 episodes for Ghost Rider would be so cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
but okay. So this is the weird thing with the MCU is like, oh, they're making too much content. They need to like focus, right? And
make more.
Right, but then we think about all the shit we want, and we're like, well, when you add it up, that's like 20 years worth of fucking programming. Like, I wanted a Silver Surfer, like dedicated, like Norrin Rad story. Like, forget Galactus, forget the final Fantastic Four. I was like, just give me Silver Surfer. But then I'm thinking about all the projects you can only fit in so many years. Like, you know what? Fine, just do Silver Surfer right in those other movies. He doesn't need his own property. I agree, Ghost Rider would be sick. I just don't know if I want to give up one of those coveted spots. Although speaking of covet, they're doing fucking Agatha. That takes up a spot. So
I think it feels like the fire for that, the desire for an Agatha series has seriously cooled because Wanda was so long ago now.
Well,
I don't think there ever was a fire for it.
Yeah.
I don't know a single
think there
person.
I was excited when they first said it. I was all caught up in Wanda.
Well, it was a fun spin-off because it was going to be, and the Vision which isn't even coming till 2026, I guess, or whatever, which is another 2 years away, which is so far away. But had they done Agatha sooner, so it still was riding that wave of WandaVision after it. Because to your point, Wanda feels so far away now, and we already had Multiverse of Madness where she supposedly died. But
Wanda started COVID, basically, didn't it? I mean, it was like sometime early in COVID,
which was a great, again, it's one of the better MCU shows too, right there with Loki. I thought, like, it was so well done, it's so fun. But at the time, you were like, "Oh, this character's awesome. Let's see what she's about." I'm hoping Tim, like in that way that you were just talking about with the other ones, connects in a way of bringing about something new, something different with that show, because it can't just be a standalone show now. Although with their theory of like you don't need to watch everything to connect stuff now, it could just be sort of a one-off type thing. But I'm hoping it has a larger piece.
It's not going to be one-off because Wanda is one of those characters that
Well,
really works well as a conduit between the mutants and the Avengers.
Oh yeah, and
And
she's coming back, and she's apparently getting her own movie
And
again,
she
hopefully.
should.
So
Both
right,
both Elizabeth Olsen and Wanda Maximoff, like from a character standpoint and an actor standpoint, she should have that, right?
yeah,
A lot of times it's one or the other. Like, oh, this is a great actor. The character maybe you don't give it to, but like the actor you do, or the other way around. But I think they absolutely should give her one.
and
totally.
But
they've already had Photon come back. They've moved on with that. We've had the Marvels, and
yeah,
so
Yeah,
Agatha's way back there. It's like this will be cool. It'll be like watching a retro show or something, though. Like you're
and I
watching
do like. I
reruns.
mean, I think it's fun the way every title or every episode's a different title
Right.
of Agatha
So
something, so that's fun. So I don't know. I'm looking
multiverse.
forward to it.
Maybe there's a multiverse like thing there.
That ties in with things. I'm sure.
well,
I'm
which
Yeah,
sure.
is
It
because
has
like
good,
to.
every
I think.
multiverse, the episodes are named. The show's called something different.
Right.
I think that's one of the problems with having so many shows a year because we go back and watch the Infinity Saga and it flows seamlessly, and you're like, oh, this just one into another. But like those movies were far apart, like not
Yeah.
like they weren't doing 4 a year, do it right.
Right.
Like they got up to 3 by the end, but in the beginning it was like 1 a year, 2, right? And so like there was a lot of space. The actual time between Wanda and Agatha isn't like tremendous for a storyline compared to the first phases. The problem is that there was like 17 properties in between them and none of them connected to anything. So you were like, well, I guess that's just the dead end of a story until we come back to it. I want to see what it's like to go back and watch them all consecutively, if there's any coherence at all, or if it's just because there's really not. I mean, the rings, I guess, with like Shang-Chi and Kang, there's some continuity, and like the TVA with Loki, there's some continuity, but mostly it's just random one-offs. It's kind of
They're dumping
fucked
the
up.
TVA into Deadpool, huh?
I'm excited about that. I love the
I,
TVA. That Loki's perfect in my opinion. Like
yeah.
that is the one thing that rises above all the bullshit with MCU and all the complaints. Like even Jonathan Majors, like He Who Remains was the best iteration we got of Kang.
Okay. Yeah. I
And
agree.
Loki was the best show and better than the movies, honestly. I think it was the best property we've gotten since Endgame.
Mm.
Well, Spider-Man, but like
Mm.
forget that. But like so one of the top 3, I would say, since Endgame.
Totally. Loki nailed it. And Miss Minutes is a fantastic follow on Twitter. She's hilarious and still keeps the TVA alive with little jokes and things in and out of it. It's so funny. She's great. But I agree. Loki really did a good job of explaining to the timelines and that whole which you needed, right? You needed something that was could last 8 hours in explaining all of this and what was going on, and not just like an hour and a half, 2 hour movie to try and do it. Like it worked
Great
so well.
ending. And the ending was perfect that he sacrifices himself in the end.
Right. And I guess
Yeah.
it wasn't even 8 hours. It was
And
more
got
like
his
16
throne.
because it was
Yeah,
2
he got it.
seasons
Yeah,
of it.
be careful what you ask for, right?
It was so well written and executed. Like not because what I love about it is it goes back to the first Avengers, right?
Right.
Like Loki coming to Earth and wanting his throne. Like it not only wrapped up the show well, but it seamlessly tied into the entire MCU and finished the character. Well, I say finished, like he's definitely coming back, but like it tied the entire story arc of that character over all those properties.
Well, and a
That's
different
impressive.
version of him too, like not the version that we got that died at the beginning of Endgame or whatever, on the
Well, you don't
ship.
even
Like,
think of him as a variant either. That's the other
right,
triumph. Is like usually when you have variants, it's so hard to connect with them and be
right,
like, "Fuck that character." Like Gamora, like no offense, but like I was like, "Oh, you're not my Gamora, right?
right,
You're the
right.
new Gamora." So like, but
And
like
that's
Loki, I don't even think about that. It's like they did such a seamless job, like reestablishing his arc.
what was so weird at the beginning because you're like, oh, you're not the cool Loki that ended up, changing already through the movies and did this. You're
You're
like
not
this
the cool
asshole
Loki.
version of Loki that wanted to take over Earth that suddenly got, that picked
And they
up the
did it all
Tesseract.
in the show. They
And
redid
then
all of it.
right, and then through his relationship with Morbius and like the TVA and all this, like he ended up doing it because he wanted to be with his friends, or he wanted to save his friends, which was such a huge arc and such a different like take on who he
Yeah, it was
was. Like,
fresh,
it was
right?
it was so fascinating. It was such a great show. So well
And
done.
fucking Owen Wilson is awesome. I love him.
It was great. Really
I
good.
got to hang out with Loki once.
Really? Like the
Yeah.
actual god or Tom Hiddleston?
Well, he's a god to me.
I never know. All right, what
You
else
never
do we
know.
have? I don't remember. What was this one?
Oh,
Oh,
Rebel
Ah.
Moon.
let's talk some Snyderverse. Oh,
We don't need it.
like why? I just don't understand why he can't make a movie without having to go back
I'm bored.
and change it.
Yeah.
Like,
The director cut announced right after. I don't even know if he might have announced it before the second part came out. Was like, what the fuck are you doing, Zach? Like, chill the fuck out. You just put your good shit out first. You know, it's like it kind of has that Trump thing where it's like the built-in excuses. Like, oh, if this doesn't work, I have a built-in excuse. Like, oh no, this is the. Oh, and if that doesn't work, I have a
You
built-in.
should have seen the extra hour of gore.
Yeah,
Make
that
the movie
I wanted
for
to do this, but they wouldn't let me. And you can't do that either. When he was with WB, right, Warner Bros. Yeah, right, with DCU, there was a lot of producer and like suit interference, and that was the narrative. It was like, but Netflix isn't like that. Netflix is very famously like, do whatever the fuck you want, just do it well. And so now
As
he
long
doesn't
as
have
the
that
check
excuse
clears.
anymore.
I just don't get, like, first he wrote it as a Star Wars movie, which got rejected. So then he turned it into this
Rightfully
other.
so, by the way. Everybody gives
Right.
like Kathleen Kennedy shit and stuff, but like Acolyte is better than Rebel Moon. I mean, I enjoyed it, but
But
Rebel
it's
Moon, but
just
not because it was
wizards
good.
and witches.
I enjoyed it
fighting
because it
in
was
space.
bad.
Yeah,
What'd you
it
say?
just
It's just wizards and witches fighting in space.
No, but it's overly cliche and derivative. It is I like original witches and wizards fighting in space. This is the most derivative property I've ever. It's like Scary Movie, right? Where it's a spoof. That's
Right.
the level it feels like of like them replicating shit, but
What, the
it's not
writing?
supposed to be a
Is
spoof.
it the writing or is it the cinematography? What is it?
Everything.
everything.
I
It's the
think it's the
story.
story arcs, the character development, the cinematography, the action sequencing, the fucking pacing. It is all you've seen it. And it's hard to describe, except that I could say when you watch it, you will constantly feel like I've seen this recently. Like
Just like Rebel Moon.
that's
is
the
this
Lord of
like-
the Rings scene. Oh, that's the Game of Thrones scene. Oh, that's the Harry Potter scene. Oh, that's the Star Wars scene. Oh, there's another
is
Star
Rebel
Wars
Moon,
scene.
Is Rebel Moon the anime thing, like Sailor Moon?
No, it's a whole brand new thing. It's about a moon
Okay.
full of rebels.
The Rebel Moon.
Hey, like Snakes on a Plane. I love that movie. You know what you're
And
getting.
the Empire comes down with the Iron Fist, and they try to fucking squeeze the rebels, and the rebels do what rebels do. They rebel.
They
And then
rebel.
you have a conflict of the man and the Empire versus the rebels. It's like fucking Star Wars. It is. Oh, I can't even over explain how, or maybe I can. You know what? Fuck it. It's derivative. That's all I'm going to say, which is fine. If he missed, whatever. That's not even the part that gets me. The part that gets me is he missed, and then he comes up with a bunch of fucking excuses, and he's like, oh no, here's the good cut.
Let me throw another hour at you.
Not even.
investing
It's
any
not
more
even that.
time
It's
in
not
your
even.
shit, Zach.
It's not even like that though. It's not even like he said, "Oh, I need to put this extra stuff in to change it." He completely recut the movie, like completely redid the movie. Like it's completely different. He's like, "Oh no, this is like a completely different movie now." So like he took it, which was already like 2 hours long, and turned it into another 2 to 3 hour long piece of a completely different movie. Apparently, like it's not
I mean,
even
maybe
supposed
it
to be
is good. I'm not
the
investing
same.
the time to find out, though. That's the
But I
problem.
don't understand how you can cut 2 movies with shooting that much footage and then saying, "Oh, I'm going to cut this one version of a 2-part movie and make it 2 parts and then go back and fix it and make another 2-part completely different movie with the same footage and the same shit." Like I don't. And how do you get away with doing that all the time? How do you always get to come back and be like, "No, no, no,
Your
no, no,
name
no,
is Snyder.
I want to fix this again."
He
Like
has a strong contingency of fans that are like,
They're
I was
probably going
actually
to come
starting to get
after us.
nervous. If we shit on him all show, we
Yeah,
might
the
start getting
bots.
trolls
The
in the
bots
box.
are going to come after us.
I don't even care about shitting on him. I'm just asking, like, how do you keep getting to do, like, how do you keep creating 2 movies out of all of your movies? Like, why can't you create the definitive movie first? Like, I don't understand that. Like, I don't get
It almost
where
feels like he's a hack. I
Oh,
don't, you know.
oh,
I don't know.
It's just weird. I don't know. And like I get directors wanting to go back in and tinker with their projects like Lucas did and stuff, and Lucas saying like he'll never release the original Star Wars ever. Like that's kind of dead to him. It's the new version that he got to like fix or whatever and make it his true vision later on. I get that, but these movies are done right after he does. Like, I mean, this is like right after it came out. It's not even like waiting 10 years and being like, you know what, I want to go back in there and fix a few things and like make it my true vision. No,
If
it's
you
like
knew
right
it was wrong, if you knew it was
afterwards.
wrong,
Right.
why'd you let it be released?
Why'd you submit that in the first place?
And I feel like Netflix would have been the company to be like, all right, take another 6 months, right?
Right.
They weren't
Right.
hurting for it.
Right.
So I don't know. It's very strange to me that he gets to that he keeps doing it and getting away with it and whatever. And even the DCU Snyderverse version wasn't. It was cool to watch at 4 hours or 3.5 hours, whatever it was.
Lots of Cyclops that you didn't get in the other one.
Still didn't blow me away enough to be like, this was like his true vision.
If this was the original, it would have worked and everything would have been
nailed
perfect.
it. Like you're still like,
all the
okay,
Cyclops
it still
stuff,
kind of sucks.
I thought
Why
the
do you keep saying
Cyclops stuff was
Cyclops?
great. He should have been. He was like the linchpin of that whole movie, and missing from the original version. I don't think it holds up as well as what he redid with.
He was still in it though. He wasn't missing from the original version. You just didn't get this entire like longer story.
And yeah, I think that was important.
I don't know. I still think The Flash is the best of all the DCU movies. If you had just gone with that one as like sort of its whole built upon there and gone with that, everything made sense instead of making it the end and the throwaway movie since it was all over, which sucks. But yeah, I don't know. It's just
Flash was good.
It was good. It was really good.
What are you talking about, Kev?
What's his name's character in the DCU?
Not Cyclops. You know what I was talking of, who I'm talking about.
I don't. That's why I'm like
Cyborg.
Oh, the fucking black robot guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I kept saying the other thing.
He's got X-Men on his brain.
Right. I think I kept trying to think about Justice League, and all I could think of was fucking X-Men because Kev said, and like I get it's a slip, but like
Cyborg.
But like Cyclops is like such a pinnacle thing in my mind that once you said that, I was like, what the fuck are we talking about? Are we talking about X-Men?
Sorry. If you didn't hate us about Zack Snyder, you can hate us about that.
That's a shame because the casting I thought for Justice League was pretty fucking spot on. Maybe Ezra, turned out not to be great, but fucking like Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot, and even Momoa, the big
yeah.
I think he was the right one. I think
I think Henry Cavill was fucking the perfect Superman. That guy fucking looks like Superman. I like Henry Cavill.
And I mean, I'm not a Ben Affleck fan, but I thought he did a pretty good job as Batman and Bruce Wayne in that.
I was surprised. I went into it wanting to hate his Batman. I was like, fucking Ben Affleck. What? But then I was like, oh yeah. A rich douche with some skeletons in his closet.
Right. I had more problems with Suicide Squad and the casting in that than I did really with their casting as far as like the whole Justice League.
So fun.
What else do we have going on today?
So fun.
I don't remember. Was there other shit?
I think that was it. I think we all have like
all we really had for
afternoon
today
work appointments
to talk about.
Shit, sorry.
Not a whole lot of new things out this week to really harp on or talk about. I don't know. When I watch,
keep your eyes peeled. We'll be back soon.
Watched the terrible Netflix movie. Speaking of Netflix movies, the Under Paris movie with the shark attacking, which, by the way, the ending of, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, it's kind of crazy, but the ending was nuts. I don't know if it's because it's like French or like foreign, but the sharks win. Like it was crazy. It was really bizarre.
Yeah,
like,
I like to hear that.
It was nuts. Like it just ends and you're like, wait, Paris is underwater now and there's sharks swimming everywhere. Okay, cool. Like I guess that's just how it ended. But it was an interesting one for sure. Like
I'm going to see Inside Out this weekend for Father's Day. I'm doing a daddy-daughter date.
Nice.
I'm very excited about it.
Nice.
I heard that it's I don't know, like maybe this is a niche thing because I have kids, but like I like Pixar like movies and they've kind of not been great. Yeah. They've been mixed bag, but I heard this is like a return back to like good Pixar level, like high quality Pixar. So
Well, it's
we'll
funny
see.
because they stopped. They kind of said they were going to put the brakes on doing sort of originals again and go back to sort of the sequels because those are what works, you know. So like, there's a few of those coming out now, which hopefully it works and hopefully it gets them back up into like where Pixar you're used to seeing them with things. And Inside Out was such a funny movie, so
I
hopefully
mean,
the sequels
Elemental
work.
was good. I enjoyed that. That was Pixar, right? I
Yeah,
don't know.
but you get to see them all because you have kids, so you get to like
Mhm.
Yeah.
go enjoy it and let them.
There was a
enjoy it
period
too.
I saw them all, like the original Inside Out. We went and saw in
Right.
the theater.
Yeah.
I
And then
cried.
And the
Yeah,
next
I love that
Despicable
movie.
Me movie's coming out with the Minions. Did your
Yeah, we love
daughter's
that
like,
shit too.
yep.
Not afraid to
I've
admit
never
it.
seen a
I
Minions
love
movie. They
these.
started. I had aged out at that point. I miss the Minions.
I love seeing movies. Period. Though my wife always makes fun of me because it's
Yeah.
like saying like I love Lamp, from like Anchorman, like I love Lamp, but like I like honestly, even if it's a shitty movie, I really enjoy just going to the fucking movies and like getting a thing of popcorn and a soda and like fucking watching whatever. Like I enjoy it a lot. So I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to this.
I do too. I love going to the theater and losing myself in a
While you
movie for a
can, you
couple
see
hours.
Sony bought Alamo
Yeah.
theaters and
Mm.
fucking that's like I don't even know how that's legal. Like I don't. Maybe we'll look into that. We can
It's
talk about that.
interesting though that yeah, like, the studios are trying to get back into the theater business, which I think is a good thing with where we're at with them. Like you kind
To
of need,
save it, but it's like
yeah.
be careful what you wish for, though, right? Like you don't want it to go
Well,
back
and
to.
Sony, yeah, with Sony movies, they're not exactly the ones that you're begging to see in theaters as it is, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully it leads to because I know Netflix, Netflix owns a couple out here too. They saved like the Egyptian and bought that where they do a lot of the premieres and actually did the Rebel Moon premiere there and showed it for a couple weeks playing there and had Zack Snyder in it and stuff. So it's kind of cool to see streamers buy them and put some of the streaming movies in the theaters, which makes it a little bit more theatrical and fun to see as opposed to just always watching it on your TV. So I think it's kind of cool. So we'll see how that pans out in the future. But theaters are in trouble, man. They need something. Something needs to happen to help revitalize the industry. It's kind of like what we were talking about last night with ticket things with concerts these days and how the ticket prices have dropped and shit. So it's entertainment across the board. It seems like people are.
It'll bounce back.
It will. It always does, right? It always
Yeah.
does.
All right, guys.
Well, it's
See you next
fun.
time.
Next week we'll talk more Acolyte. Hopefully, episode 4 picks it up again, and Tim will
Yeah,
let us
tune
know
in
about
Sunday.
Inside. Tim will give us a review of Inside Out too next week.
All right, awesome. Later, guys.
See ya.